"The baby isn't yours," Maya said, still in her wedding dress, mascara running in two thin dark lines down cheeks that had been glowing with joy only 4 hours earlier. She said it into the dark of our hotel room like the words were made of glass, and she was afraid of what would happen if she set them down too hard. "I want you to know I braced myself for a lot of things when I decided to marry her. I did not brace myself for how calm I would feel hearing a sentence that was supposed to end my marriage before its first night was even over. Because I already knew. I had known for 6 years. And the hardest part wasn't the confession. The hardest part was watching her believe, even for a few more seconds, that she was about to lose me. To understand why I wasn't surprised, you have to go back to a September that already feels like it belongs to someone else's life, 6 years before that hotel room, back when Maya and I were young enough to believe love was supposed to be simple. We'd been together 2 years when we hit the kind of rough patch every couple pretends won't happen to them. I got a job offer 3 states away and took too long deciding whether to go. Maya, tired of feeling like an afterthought in my own ambition, told me she needed space to think about whether we made sense long term. We broke up for 11 weeks. I don't know everything that happened during those 11 weeks. And for a long time I told myself I didn't want to know. I only know that when we found our way back to each other, Maya was different, quieter in a way I mistook for missing me. And 2 months after we reconciled, she told me she was pregnant. I did the math wrong on purpose. I want to be honest about that now in a way I never let myself be honest about it then. Some small, cowardly corner of my brain noticed the timeline didn't sit quite right, noticed that the due date landed closer to the middle of our separation than the end of it, and I buried that thought so fast and so deep that I convinced myself I'd never really had it at all. I loved her. I wanted the baby to be mine so badly that wanting it felt the same as knowing it. Lily was born the following spring, 7 pounds 2 ounces, a full head of dark hair, and the kind of scream that made the whole delivery room laugh with relief. I cut the cord. I held her before Maya's mother did. For 4 months, I was the happiest, exhausted man in that whole hospital's discharge paperwork. The doubt came back on a Tuesday in July, delivered by a pediatrician who meant nothing cruel by it at all. Lily needed a minor procedure, nothing serious, but it required a blood type match for a small transfusion precaution, and the nurse mentioned, almost as an afterthought while reviewing paperwork, that Lily's blood type didn't line up the way you'd expect given both of ours. She said it the way medical professionals say things they've said 1,000 times, unaware that for me the sentence landed like a car crash in slow motion. I didn't say anything in the room. I smiled, thanked her, held Maya's hand while Lily got her tiny procedure done without complication. Then I went home that night, waited until Maya was asleep, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open to blood type inheritance charts until 3 in the morning. Doing the kind of math I'd refused to do the first time around. It wasn't proof. I knew that. Blood type oddities happen for all kinds of harmless reasons. But it cracked something open in me that I'd sealed shut 9 months earlier. And once it was open, I couldn't will it closed again. I ordered a paternity test online 2 weeks later, the discreet kind. A cheek swab kit delivered in plain packaging to my office instead of our house. I told myself I was doing it to put my own mind at ease, that I'd get the results back, laugh at myself for a night of stupid worry, and never think about it again. I swabbed Lily's cheek during bath time, gentle, quick, telling her it was a game, and mailed the sample back the next morning with hands that wouldn't quite stop shaking. The results came back 9 days later. I remember the date, because it was the same day as Lily's 5-month photos, a stack of prints Maya had picked up from the drugstore, all gap-toothed baby smiles and soft natural light. I read the report standing in my car in an empty parking lot on my lunch break, and somewhere in the second paragraph, in language far more clinical than a moment like that deserved, I learned that the man who had cut the cord, who had memorized the smell of her head, who had already started imagining her wedding day, was not her biological father. I sat in that car for over an hour. I didn't cry, not right away. I just kept rereading the same paragraph, waiting for the words to rearrange themselves into something survivable. I drove home that night, fully intending to confront Maya. I rehearsed it the whole way, every version of the conversation, some angry, some devastated. One where I simply set the report on the table without saying anything at all and let her read her own unraveling. I walked in the door and found her in the nursery, rocking Lily to sleep in the half-dark, humming some tuneless lullaby she'd made up herself, exhausted in the particular way new mothers are exhausted, completely unguarded, in a way she never was when she knew I was watching. I stood in that doorway for a long time, and somewhere in those minutes, watching the two of them in that soft yellow nursery light, I made a decision that would define the next 6 years of my life. I decided the truth in that folder wasn't going to get to choose what kind of father I was. I was already Lily's father, in every way that mattered outside of a lab report. I had been since the delivery room. Biology had shown up 9 months late to a role that had already been filled. I burned the paperwork in the fireplace that night, watched the pages curl and blacken while Maya slept upstairs, and made myself a private promise. I would never bring it up. I would never punish Lily for a truth that wasn't hers to carry. And I would never punish Maya for a mistake made during 11 weeks when we weren't even technically together, because whatever had happened, whoever it had been, she had still chosen to come back to me, still chosen to build a life with me, still chosen, every single day since, to let me be Lily's father in every way that counted. The only thing I allowed myself, in 6 years of silence, was watching. And that's how I noticed 3 years later, when Maya's old boyfriend Reese moved back to town for a construction contract on the new hospital wing, that something about the timeline lined up in ways I didn't want to examine too closely. I never asked. I never needed to. I saw the way Maya went quiet whenever his name came up at a barbecue, the practiced casualness she used whenever we ran into him at the hardware store, and once, only once, I saw Lily standing next to him in a grocery store parking lot while Maya loaded bags into the trunk. And the shape of his jaw next to the shape of my daughter's jaw made something in my chest go very still and very cold. I never said a word. Reese moved away again 18 months later, some job in another state, and as far as I know, he never once suspected what I had confirmed with a cheek swab and a lab report years earlier. I let that possibility close quietly behind him, the way I'd let so many things close quietly over those 6 years, because opening it back up served no one, least of all a little girl who called me Daddy without a single hesitation in her voice. There were harder nights than that one. There was the night Lily broke her arm falling off the swing set, and the emergency room doctor, filling out routine paperwork, asked if there was any family history of bone density issues on my side. And I answered smoothly, easily, the way you answer a lie you've had 6 years to practice. Because by then it wasn't really a lie in the way that mattered. It was just the truth I'd chosen instead of the one a lab had printed out for me once, in a parking lot, on an ordinary Tuesday that I never told anyone about. There was the night Maya, 3 glasses of wine into her sister's bachelorette party, came home late and cried in the bathroom for 20 minutes before coming to bed. And when I asked if she was all right, she said she just felt guilty sometimes. Guilty for a happiness she felt she hadn't fully earned. And I held her and told her she deserved every good thing that had come her way, and I meant it, even though I understood exactly what she was circling and choosing not to say out loud. I proposed to her the following spring, 5 years after Lily was born, on the same swing set where she'd broken her arm, because Lily had asked us once why we weren't married like other kids' parents, and the question had lodged itself in both of us in ways neither of us discussed directly. Maya cried when I got down on one knee. Lily clapped and demanded to know if this meant she got to wear a fancy dress too. We planned a small wedding for the following year. In all that planning, in all those months of cake tastings and seating charts and Lily practicing her flower girl walk down our hallway approximately 400 times, Maya never once told me the truth I already knew. I understood why. I'd built her a version of our life sturdy enough that the truth had nowhere left to land without doing damage. I understood because I'd made the exact same calculation myself. 6 years earlier, standing in a nursery doorway with a folded lab report I never let her see. Which brings us back to the hotel room, to her wedding dress, to mascara tracking down her face in the dark. She told me the whole thing that night. Finally, 6 years too late by her own accounting, and exactly on schedule by mine. She told me about the 11 weeks, about a mistake with Reese she'd never fully forgiven herself for, about doing the math on the due date more honestly than I ever let myself do, about carrying the secret through the pregnancy, through the birth. Through 6 years of watching me love a little girl, I might not have chosen to love the same way if I'd known from the start. She said she'd wanted to tell me 100 times, She said every year of silence had made the next year of silence feel more necessary, not less, until the lie had grown so large it felt like the only thing holding our family together, and telling me on our wedding night, she said, was the only version of honesty she had left the courage for, because she couldn't walk into a marriage carrying a secret that heavy without at least giving me the choice she'd taken away from me for 6 years. "Say something," she finally whispered, when I hadn't spoken for a long time. "Please, I need you to say something." I reached over and turned on the small lamp on the nightstand, because I didn't want to say what I was about to say into the dark. I wanted her to see my face when I said it, so she'd know there was no anger underneath it, nothing withheld, nothing waiting to detonate later. "I know," I said. She blinked at me like the words hadn't landed correctly. "What?" "I've known for 6 years," I said. "Since Lily was 5 months old. There was a blood type mismatch during a routine procedure. I ran a paternity test myself. I got the results in a parking lot on a Tuesday in July, and I burned the report in our fireplace that same night, and I decided I was never going to let a piece of paper tell me who my daughter was." Maya went completely white. 6 years, she repeated, like the number itself was a physical weight. "You've known for 6 years and you never said anything? You let me carry this alone thinking I was protecting you?" "I let you carry it because I thought I was protecting all 3 of us," I said. "You, Lily, and the family I'd already decided to build regardless of what that report said. I didn't need you to confess anything to keep loving her. I made that decision the night I found out, standing in her nursery, watching you rock her to sleep. I just needed time to be sure I could live inside that decision without it curdling into resentment. It took me a while. It didn't take as long as you'd think." "Reese," she said quietly. "You know about Reese." "I've known since the grocery store parking lot 3 years ago," I said. "I never said anything to him. I never will. He's not her father. You are her mother. I am her father. That's not a biological fact I'm stating. It's a choice I made 6 years ago and have remade every single day since. And I'm not interested in unmaking it now because you finally found the courage to say out loud what I already knew." Maya was crying harder now, but it had shifted into something else. Relief tangled up with disbelief, tangled up with a grief for all the years she'd spent afraid of a moment that had already happened quietly, alone, in a fireplace 6 years earlier. "Why didn't you ever tell me you knew?" she asked. "All those years watching me almost say it and pull back, you could have just told me you already knew. It would have saved us both so much fear. Because it wasn't my secret to unburden myself of at your expense," I said. "You needed to be the one to choose honesty in your own time, or it would have just been one more thing I decided for both of us. I've spent 6 years choosing to be her father anyway. I wanted, just once, for you to choose to trust me with the truth instead of me choosing to reveal it for you." She was quiet for a long moment, studying my face in the lamplight like she was seeing something in it she'd missed for 6 years. "I don't deserve you," she finally said. "You don't need to deserve me," I said. "That's not how this works. I'm not choosing you and Lily because you've earned it on some scoreboard. I'm choosing you because that's what loving someone actually means. On the nights it's easy, and on the nights like this one, when it very much isn't. We didn't sleep much that night, but for the first time in 6 years, the silence in that room belonged to both of us equally instead of just to me. Somewhere around dawn, still in her wedding dress with the makeup long since cried away, Maya asked if I thought we should ever tell Lily the truth someday, when she was old enough to understand it without it reshaping how she saw herself. I told her I didn't know yet. I told her whatever we decided, we'd decide it together this time out loud, instead of each of us carrying separate silent decisions across a kitchen table for years without saying so. If you've ever loved someone through a truth you were never supposed to know, you understand exactly what it costs to carry that silence gracefully, and exactly what it feels like when the person you protected finally hands you the same truth back, terrified, not realizing you'd already built an entire life around forgiving it. Lily is 11 now. She still doesn't know any of this, and for now that's exactly how both of us want it. Some mornings I watch her doing homework at our kitchen table, the same table where I once sat with a laptop open to blood-type charts at 3 in the morning, and I think about how strange it is that the truest thing I ever did as her father happened in a fireplace, in total silence, 6 years before I ever said a word about it out loud.